Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We're gonna wait for a few seconds to let the participant join us. In the meantime, I just want to welcome you all for our second webinar in the series of 333 Travel Tech Innovation for COVID-19 Recovery Solution. This time we're gonna focus on the hospitality industry. As was mentioned, we have 3 industry experts. Then we're going to see, and we're going to have a panel with them. We have 3 innovative Israeli startups, and that each one of them will have a pre-recorded 3-minute pitch of their product and what they do. And then they're going to join also the panel. If you have any question, you can send question. We have a quick poll that we're going to do in a second. To address the just who is the audience. So let me start by introducing our first panelist. Sorry. The first panelist is Ignacio Garcia Sanabria from Roommate Hotel. Ignacio joined Roommate in 2018. He leads the strategic plan to turn Roommate Group from a loved brand into a visionary brand. Prior to this, he spent more than 8 years with PwC in Spain, working in customer-centric projects close to the data and analytics department, mainly inside tourism, retail, and energy companies. He was leading the Roommate Experience project for the PwC side. Ignacio studied in environmental engineering in UPM, Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, and holds a MSc in offshore and ocean engineering by Cranfield University. Ignacio, welcome. You can turn on actually the camera, Ignacio. The second is Fred BRAYER from Accor Hotels. Fred has been working for Accor Hotels for over 7 years, all of them in IT-related positions. He was based in São Paulo, Brazil in the first more than 5 years actually, and now he's based in Accor's London's office. Prior to Accor, he worked for Amadeus. He has a master's degree in IT system from the École Centrale d'Électronique in France. Fred, please join us. Third, but not last but not least, Shay Raz. Shay joined Leonardo Hotel 13 years ago. At his current role, he is the country manager for Spain and Portugal. And prior to this, he was in charge of revenue management for the group in Europe. Prior to Leonardo, Shay worked at brands like Kempinski, Crown Plaza, the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas, and others. Actually, he only did an internship in the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas, but I had to put it because he did the internship in my department. Shay holds a BA in Hotel Management from Ben Gurion University in Israel and an MBA from IMI at Sec Cornell University in Paris, France. Shay, please join us. Unmute yourself, please.
Hello, hi everyone.
Hello everyone, good morning.
So guys, we are here to talk about the challenges of the hotel industry and its recovery. So the first quick question that I have for you is, actually in the meantime, let's just turn on the poll for the audience. We have a quick poll with 2 questions. If you look at your system, there is a poll. Just tell us a little bit who you are, what do you do in the industry, how is it related to you, and where are you from in the world. It's just going to help the discussion. So the first question that I had is, at what point, when you look back at the beginning of the crisis, where it was beginning for you, actually all 3 of you are based in Europe. 2 are in Spain and 1 in London. At what point you and your company realized how big the crisis is, and what were the first 3 things that you did? Who would like to take it? not all of you have to answer everything.
I'll take it, okay, if it's fine.
Okay, Ignacio.
So, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me and inviting roommate to this panel. We're really thankful. According to your question, as roommate is international, obviously we were having this issue in Italy first, which was the first country in Europe which was mainly hit by the virus. And when we were starting having problems there, obviously we knew that this was going to happen worldwide. And the first three things which we did was basically prepare to be hit in all of our countries, in all of our destinies, where we have a hotel at least, because we knew this was international, this was going to be more than local. And this requires knowing you have to shut down your operations. Obviously, how we arranged it. It was in three teams. One was based on closing down hotels and preparing for this new normal. The other one was focusing on how to the post-COVID, which was the project I was leading. How was the ecosystem to be changed? How were we going to be selling from now on? We know the demand will be low, and people will be focusing on 2 or 3 destinies. Many people won't go on vacation. A new normal, which we had to face, and that's another team. And the third team was how we could save, or how could we help society. And this was something which we are really proud of, because we lent 13 of our hotels all around the world for medical teams, so that these teams that were working against the virus on the first row, getting to the hospitals, many of them didn't want to go to the houses to get their family infected. So we left them our hotels, which were obviously closed, and there was no one there. So we left those hotels, those assets, for them to live there during the 3 months or 2 months that the virus were hitting us. So we're really proud on that part, and the rest is obviously try to lower the damage and try to sell when this goes up. Try to sell as much as you can. Get your self position really great.
You guys, Ignacio, I know that Shay, and I believe you guys don't have any hotels in Asia.
No, we don't. No.
Fred, you guys have hotels in China. So did you guys realize it before? Because we could see, when talking to people, we could see how people in Asia, specifically in China, and then Hong Kong, Singapore, were reacting very differently than people were in Europe, and very differently were people in the US or in South America. So did you guys see anything different earlier?
Well, when it first started in China, at that time it was still very local. So all the measures that have been taken were really, I would say, planned and designed locally. And obviously, when it started to spread, and especially for Europe, where I'm working, I think it really started when, as Ignacio said, with Italy. When it reached Italy, it was clear that it was going to be a global pandemic, and that all the initial actions that have been taken in Asia were going to be replicated in the rest of the world on how to manage that crisis. And as Ignacio said, we also took very deeply the caring side of the hospitality, with offering hotels which were not open anymore for patients, for doctors, or for anyone that needed to be able to stay without putting at risk his or her family. And in terms of other actions that we've taken, obviously, and I think it was very common to all the hospitality market, was to how to close in order to comply with the local regulation, obviously, and then very quickly starting to see and define and understand what would be the new customer behavior, what would be the new trend, what would be the new expectation, how could the hospitality, how could Accor could answer back to those demands and expectations. And then obviously finding and defining as well priority on where to start, how to deploy it, and in order to prepare the new normal or the comeback to close to a normal day-to-day life.
So for you, really, the trigger was also Italy.
For Europe, yes. I think worldwide, when it started to spread as well in the region in Asia, that was quite worrying, obviously. But I mean, it really hit very hard in Italy. And I think this is clearly the sign that it was, okay, it's going to be much more wide and critical than what could be initially thought in January or early February, for instance.
So, Shay, a question for you, because you're based in Barcelona, Spain. How many hotels do you guys have in Spain? Spain and Portugal. You oversee Spain and Portugal.
Yeah, we have together 10 hotels, 8 hotel operation. We have 2 more projects and ongoing.
So tell us a little bit about the difference in the reaction for the opening hotels. I mean, what is changing in your priorities in what you were looking for hotels that you are building or you're preparing to open versus hotel that were operating? I mean, were you just closing them? What type of things you did for the to reopen them versus the one that are in construction in different stages? When are they supposed to open, the 2 hotels?
One at the end of this year and the other one when we have time.
Okay, so the one in the end of this year is closed. It's closed. I mean, the date is quite
yes.
close. So tell us what changed in your priorities from beginning of March, for example, till versus beginning of April, and how did you approach the hotels that were operating and the new hotel under construction?
Well, with regard to operation hotel, as you know, Spain was hit hard. It's very important to mention we have hotels all around Europe, that not all the countries have been hit the same and also on the same time. I agree with my colleagues that Italy was very worrying, but for us, the tipping point was being based in Barcelona with hotels in Barcelona is when they decided to cancel the Mobile Congress. That was the alarm bells really went off across, especially in all Western Europe, let's say it like that. Yet, hotels in Germany, for example, continued normally until really the middle of days of March. So it's really changing per country.
Cancel ITB at the beginning of March as well.
Yeah, but they canceled the Mobile Congress much before. It was already on the 10th or 12th of February, something like that. The talks, and then the one company, another company, and then we knew because with 10% of your yearly income based on this fair, you knew that something is becoming bad, and I'm sure the colleague from roommate and Accor will agree to that. With regards to the construction and the new hotels, I can tell you that the construction company is not my best friend anymore, because once we went out of the shock, let's say, the last weeks of March and beginning of April, there were 2 weeks of a shutdown of construction, but in general, the construction continued, apart from a few weeks that stopped. And then we had time to reflect, and I came with a list. We made a list of basically, okay, now we have to prepare for the new period, and the new period is a corona-free period. So what is corona-free? In existing hotels, in hotels that are in buildings of 100 years old, how much you can do? You can do some things, mainly in tech, but in new construction, you want to, the future marketing will involve things that has to do with COVID and Corona. It's touching design. How do you do the space? How many seats? How do you do the sitting areas for breakfast? And how do you modularize it with the meeting rooms? It's continuing with the air condition, how to make air condition systems much, much stronger, like airlines, and not just a normal air condition. How do you do with all the cleaning, the toilets? We're talking with a few Israeli companies, or about to talk about the automatic cleaning and all these things. And how do you basically automate as much as possible? Because the main issue now is, it's not an issue, but we have, only in Spain, we have over 200 employees that we have to take care of. In all of Europe, we have 15,000 employees. And as we see now, second wave coming, it's from a point of view of a company, it's not simple. You still have to pay the salaries and a lot of things like that, and you don't really have the income. So you need to think about the more automatic you can be, the better it is, or to have, let's say, less employees if it's not needed, because we will need to move to that direction, because now I have to send the employees back to unemployment with this second waves, and that's quite worrying. Let's say it like that. So we have a list of things, and we had started to fight with the construction, and how do they have to change? How do they put more windows? How do we have to make sure we have a contactless check-in process, which is tagging behind for 4 years now. And now in 6 months, we do what a project that was standing there for 4 years. Yes, no, yes, no. Well, you have to do it now. Elevators without touch. There's a lot of touch points in the clients going into a hotel.
So Ignacio or Fred, either one, what type of technologies really you are looking into now that maybe in February, January, were not really, either not at all on your priority list or were much lower on the priority list?
Well, I think Shay said some of them. For example, I totally agree with the checking online. That's been like there a few years, and you now have to rush to implement them. I think the basic ones are digitalization. So we've run a lot of digitalization of the signage. For example, all the room now is empty of papers or plastics or the towel information, the minibar information, the service. That's all into a QR. You can just with your phone tap it, and you'll have everything on your phone, and there's no need to touch things. That's something that customers are requiring because they don't know if someone has touched it before. Obviously, you've incremented all the cleaning, but and people are fully aware that when they enter the room, it's fully cleaned. But at least this is something that they bring from home. So whatever they touch, better they touch less, it's better for them. So that's something maybe it's going to keep. What we've prioritized in technology basically is those technologies which are digitalization, and obviously also quick technologies which can turn us or which can position us, for example, into the selling quicker. For example, let me explain myself. So we've got digitalization, and then efficiency and sales. Okay, so efficiency is process automations, process efficiency, investment optimization, for example, in requiring, for example, investment in marketing, or we've launched also a trial in social listening. So now you're looking into more things you usually were looking for, and technologies which are really quick to implement. For example, RPA, robot process automation. We've launched three robots in this time, and we're really happy with at least 2 of them. One couldn't be validated because we've got too few customers, so it's not validated yet, but the 2 other ones are amazingly performing, and they've been created in a few weeks. So that's something which we were really keen on, because you need to go quick in these situations, and I think that's mainly it.
Is when you look at automation, like you mentioned RPAs, I mean, you talk a lot about touchless. So touchless, for example, I think Shay mentioned it about the elevator, you know, and the doors. People don't want to change. That doesn't change your head count and the labor requirement. But for example, touchless check-in can reduce, for example, the number of people at the front desk. But when you look at automation, what drives the automation? Is it first cost saving and optimization, or is it also what we start seeing is that the bigger issue is actually your ability to operate your business with less people? Because when you do get a second or a third wave, your employees are impacted as well. So if you have 10 employees at the front desk and there was a guest there and somebody gets sick and all of a sudden 4 or 5 of them are sick, or at your call center, it's very difficult to operate the business. So we start seeing actually more from the airline, looking at it from how can I operate my business while not being so dependent on employees in case they're getting sick. So obviously keep them as safe as possible, but also have the ability to operate with less human intervention.
But oh, sorry, I hear myself twice. We see this from a different point of view. So obviously, if you implement automations and you implement efficiency in the process, on the future you will be, or on the near future, you will be more efficient, and you probably will need less people to do the same job. The thing is, we're not looking to get rid of people, because that's we always put people in the center, and we love our roomies. Roomies are the people who work in roommate. We call ourselves roomies, and this is the main asset for us, and we're not looking to get rid of them. We are looking to get to turn low value tasks into high value tasks. So that's the main purpose for automation. And this is a long-term project, because we were already doing this inside a project we call operational target operating model. Now we are going to be more efficient as a company, but this is in the long term. So this is for escalation. When we are growing and doubling our hotels, which we will do in the 2-3 years coming, we will basically need less people, or we won't need to grow as much our workforce as we should if we wouldn't do these type of projects of automation. But we're not looking for a short term, get rid of people and get more efficient. You get more efficient also in different things, as optimization of your investment, spending less money, and this type of tools which make you sell more. So you can always see other pieces of the ecosystem which you can always touch and get yourself more efficient. So that's basically our point of view. We know this is something which people, or if this goes, we have to bear in mind that I guess, and I hope this turns in 1-2 years, this goes back again, and this is okay, and we've got a vaccine, and there is no problem. But obviously if this goes for 10 years, maybe we have a different conversation here. So
thank you, Romy. Let me speak to Fred. Fred, are you a Corey, or it's you don't have? So how has your priorities changed? Is it different? I mean, you guys obviously an international change with many different brands. So is it different between the high end and budget or mid scale? How are your priorities set today?
Well, the first priority we have, and it is regardless of the brand, and is what I explained earlier. In fact, is that there is with the COVID situation, there are new expectations from the guests. As Shay explained, for instance, there is a very big trend on what we could call the contactless, as Shay explained. So the need to be able to make his own, the guest to choose his own self-check-in, to be able to access the room without touching the knob, being able to consult any hotel information digitally, being able to also consult the menu from the restaurant or the bar, and why not ordering and paying. and anything from his device. And I think this is clearly one of the priorities, to understand which of all those different needs are the critical ones, the ones that is going to answer the quickest and with the best model what the guests are looking for. So this is the first priority. And then the second one is obviously also to have a look at what is going to be beneficial after the COVID. And we were looking at those solutions before the COVID, because there is a part of the guest before the COVID that was very tech savvy, very looking to be more independent, or being able to use his smartphone or his tablet in order to be able to be independent and have experiences a bit more like you could have with airline for check-in, for instance, or being a bit more autonomous. If we took, for instance, the Amazon store, where you can go get your groceries, you don't have to go to pay physically, you just leave and it goes directly from your account. So we have a part of the guests that are looking for that kind of innovation, digital journey. And with the COVID, this is a very, it's a big opportunity, because it becomes a need for most of the guests. And I think what we need to answer in the hospitality is, how can we address that request from the guest, their expectation, without as well removing the key beneficial from hospitality, which is the human contact, the relationship, the fact that we care, the fact that we want to deliver the best experience.
An interesting point, because I think the industry in general, and I've been for many years in the industry, basically hide behind, oh, you know, we are all about people, and we, you know, we are all, everything we do is about people, and therefore we can't do certain things with technology. I remember even when they opened Wynn Resort, Steve Wynn did not want people to book online. And this is 2005. I mean, it's not 1982. He did not want, because he said, we are high-end, everybody needs to have experience, and they book, and said, like, who the hell needs experience? I just want to book a room. And every time you went to the website, you saw his video, and he was talking, you couldn't get to a booking, and he didn't want to work with the online travel agency. So again, I think things are changing rapidly, and I think that many of the consumer, the younger one especially, they're becoming bigger portion of the customer. For them, the experience is not a better experience if they don't need to go through the front desk. You know, if you can go directly to the room, that does not reduce the level of the hotel or the quality. Well, in the past, it was kind of, no, this is budget, because nobody is taking you to the room and reading. But Shay, there is a question here, which is, I think it's, first of all, it's in my question as well, but it's, one of the attendees asking a question there as far as what will happen if you design a hotel at a certain point, and then, like I think Ignacio was mentioning, a vaccine is being introduced to the market, and there is no more issue with Corona. So how do you balance between long-term planning and short-term when there is a lot of uncertainty on design and also on IT? How do you design for all of you guys? How do you decide if a project, you know, maybe it seems today as essential because of the uncertainty, but maybe 5 months from now, maybe people are going to get used to it. Maybe, you know, at the beginning, everybody is afraid to touch things, but then there's all this study that if it's metal, it lasts only 2 hours. If it's plastic, it's only, the virus survive only 30 minutes, etc., etc.
Well, I think you find the balance that things that don't go away, like Frederic said. I mean, it's only accelerated some of the projects that were on the pipeline anyway, make them priority. If it's the online check-in or making a nice touchless elevator, that's faster. But I want to mention two things, two more things. First of all, with regards to what Ignacio mentioned, efficiency, or things that can also help in cost cutting or make the work better, we should not forget the back of the house. Because we always say customer touching, customer facing, which is important. But now what happens is that, including us, suddenly you see, okay, what happens now? How do I still as a company need to get to some of the profits even without customers or with half of the customer or a customer that pays less. So there's a lot of other efficiency points which are not only customer facing. I'll give you an example, which I'm a little bit still shocked about, because like any others, nobody ever looked at too much about how do we do all the administrative works and the accounting systems and things like that. I started to look at it when our accounting department said, yeah, but I cannot do that, and this is manual, and this takes 2 hours, and I'm thinking, how can this be? I mean, how this can take 4 hours, it's a click. Well, apparently in the hotel industry, there's not too many companies that are doing all this black work, if you like, you know, the work which is nobody like to do. And in a country, big country like Spain and Italy, there's only 5-6 systems that are doing all this back office. So now we want to make efficiencies in this work, and they all come with a list of costs like this. You know, you want to do that, 50,000 euros. You want to do that, 80,000 euros. Now, we are all super cost conscious now, not only the Israelis, but everybody, and but there's no solutions. And I can tell you because I'm just looking at solutions, and you have some big companies like SAP and Oracle and the huge ones, which are, excuse my French, a lot of systems which don't worth their money. Salesforce, you know, there are a lot of nice names, which I can tell you that any small startup can do a better job than them because they are a legacy by now 15, 20 years. And nobody's coming with some new ideas. And here I think there's a lot of potential of doing a lot of efficiencies because companies don't have money now to invest. You have some innovations, but they don't have big money to invest, even big Accor. So you need to find to be very much more creative, let's say it like that. And in the front of the house, regarding your questions, I don't think these things will go away. I mean, design, the design that will come now will stay for a while, at least coming from a country in the south of Europe, which was hit harder, like Italy and Spain and things like that, the north of Europe less. But in the south of Europe, these terms of social distancing and 2 meters and trying to touch as less is not something that is going away soon. Also, when you get the vaccine, I mean, it's going to stay there. So we don't invest in small things, things like all these cameras and camera thermica, which you check your fever, no? Yeah. So now I have to, if I need to put in every hotel for 4,500 multiplied by 100 of hotels, you need to find better ways of doing it. I'm sure there's some.
So let's stop here for a second, and we'll bring the 3 startups that we chose. This is just a sample. Some of them are actually touching exactly those issues that you guys mentioned. Some of them you guys know because we talked about it before, we introduced to you, but it's just a sample of how you can work with startup. Those are all Israeli startup that are often not even from the industry, but their solution is applicable to the industry. And also cost-wise, obviously there's always a risk, and we're going to talk about it after working with a startup because they are small, but agility and cost-wise is a big advantage. So let's just turn off the cameras, panelists. Everybody should turn off the camera. Eran, please turn off your camera yet. And we're going to start with the introduction of each startups, and we'll see the 3 minutes video that they prepared. So the first one is Jonathan Heller. Jonathan is with Pool Purity. Jonathan has years of experience in business development, specializing in nascent water technology. He's an NSPF certified swimming pool operator and a licensed water technician by the Israeli Ministry of Health. He is also part-time lecturer at the University of Ariel on water treatment related topics. He holds a BSc, MBA, and CPO. Jonathan, let's just turn on his quick presentation on the product. And again, this is a pool solution for that clean your pool and make it safe from a COVID-19, as well as many other bacteria and side effect of people using it and chlorine. Go
Hi,
ahead.
my name is Jonathan Heller. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Pool Purity. I would like to share with you today our solution for healthier and safer swimming pools. As certified pool operators and avid swimmers, we founded our company for the purpose of providing swimmers with a healthier, more enjoyable swim with less reliance on toxic chemicals. We initially developed our technology in conjunction with the Israeli Governmental Innovation Authority with the focus on swimming pools and ponds. Our system received approval from the Ministry of Health and is currently in use by governmental, commercial, and private clients, including some of the largest municipalities in Israel. Now, when it comes to maintaining swimming pools, you have a few primary health challenges. Almost all pools and spas use chemicals such as chlorine and bromine for disinfection, the killing of dangerous bacteria and pathogens. Now, there are pathogens that cause illness that are resistant to chlorine, such as crypto. An unpleasant statistic shows that the average user who comes into a swimming pool has between 0.5 gram and 10 grams of feces or organic matter on their body. This can cause other diseases to spread to swimmers. Additionally, there are serious challenges with chlorine, such as handling, and most commonly, the toxic chlorine disinfection byproducts. These cause an unpleasant odor, the dangers to health including irritation to eyes, the skin, and are even carcinogenic. Now, the reason we're all here today is due to COVID-19. A recent study published by Professor Roman Spica sums it up best with just simply there's not enough information regarding COVID in swimming pools. There's generally a feeling of fear, uncertainty, and confusion about the safety and health of public swimming pools, and this has led to a huge drop in public swimming pool bathers. So the Pool Purity technology is an advanced oxidation process which efficiently creates hydroxyl radicals in the water. These radicals are produced from ambient air with no added chemicals. They're extremely powerful oxidizers and have an oxidation potential double that of chlorine. The free radicals are diffused into water and eliminate 99.9% of common waterborne bacteria, including Pseudomonas, E. coli, and more. Additionally, our AOP destroys toxic chlorine byproducts, and this naturally reduces the harmful effects of chlorine, reducing the chlorine odor, the eye and skin irritation, and increasing the water clarity. Now, what really is exciting is that after extensive research in one of the leading laboratories in Israel, our system has been proven to effectively eliminate human coronavirus. Now, you may ask, this sounds amazing, kills coronavirus, but how complicated is the system? Well, one of the beauties of our technology is its extreme simplicity. It's quick, fast, and easy installation with practically zero maintenance. The system itself is sustainable and environmentally friendly, using no chemicals at all, a very low power consumption, and without any harmful byproducts. Now, when it comes to public swimming pools, especially in this day and age of the corona pandemic, it is extremely important to reestablish the confidence and utmost health in our pools. As proven to eliminate coronavirus and toxic chlorine byproducts, the Pool Purity system is invaluable in providing a healthier, safer swimming experience and environment for our patrons. I thank you all very much for your time and look forward to seeing how we can help make your swimming pool achieve the highest level of health.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. So now we're going to move to the second startup. Jonathan will join us after the third presentation. And any question, if anybody has a question, you can already send questions through Zoom, if anybody in the audience has question. So the next one is Roy Friedman, who is the co-founder and the CEO of EasyWay. Roy is a worldwide traveler, former commander in the IDF Special Reconnaissance Forces, college dropout that invested his life saving to start EasyWay. Roy, let's turn on the video that Roy prepared. Here again, this is based on the discussion that we just had. This is an example of a touchless solution for guests in check-in and other places in the hotel that, again, is relatively easy to implement and not very expensive. Go ahead, Ray.
Hotels today are facing their biggest challenge yet. They need to provide a safe environment for their guests. We can clearly see a new customer behavior that will last long after COVID-19 as contactless communication becomes the new norm. In addition, we see new regulation that force the hotels to adopt tech solutions in order to be able to reopen their gates. The entire guest journey needs to be contactless. Unlike other solutions that require to download an app or to use a touchscreen check-in kiosk, our system uses the messaging apps that the guest already uses. Our system automatically sends the guest to the unique guest journey, personalized to them based on the messaging app they use. So WeChat for Chinese, WhatsApp for European, and so on. That's not all. Our two-way translation allows the hotel and its guests to speak their native language. We also allow hotels to customize the journeys they offer, making it super easy for them to create a different experience for different guest segments. VIP guests, for example, can receive a different messages than first-time guests. Our high level of personalization helps us to achieve the highest engagement rate in the market in over 18 countries. The solution is tailor-made to each hotel's operation in order to provide a fully contactless journey and a high level of automation. The data of the guests that are checking in or out is automatically updated in the PMS, including secured payment processing. We can also integrate it to the existing digital key provider. In case you don't have a digital key provider, no worries. We can still make a completely contactless journey just by sending the guest a unique code, which will allow them to easily collect their key upon arrival. Our approach is to listen to our customers' needs. When Intercontinental told us they have guests with no info in the PMS and they still need to do a check-in without contact, we built features especially for them, for those unknown guests, to scan a QR code and check in themselves. Now it's live for everybody. These are just the building blocks. You can use them to build any experience you want. You can use it for your loyalty program promotion or smart upselling based on your audience segmentation, and do it automatically based on availability. For example, every time the Royal Suite is empty, upsell it as a room upgrade. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you all for listening, and looking forward to chatting with you later on.
Thank you very much, Roy. Roy going to join us after the last presentation. The next presentation will be Eran Hochstadter from Continue Biometrics. Eran has close to 20 years of senior leadership experience in various high-tech companies in the field of semiconductor and medical devices. He holds a BSc from the Technion Department of Chemical Engineering and a joint master in business administration and electrical engineering from Tel Aviv University. Eran going to show us again another example that is not from the travel industry, but actually from the healthcare that we felt that has a very applicable, is very applicable for the hotel industry and the airline industry. Eran, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Eran Hochstadter, and I'm leading the business development at Continuse Biometrics. I show you in a few slides what we are doing at Continuse. So in a nutshell, Continuse in a nutshell, we are a global company. Our headquarters in Tel Aviv. We have an offices in Spain and also in the States. We are a startup. We raised until now $27 million from Johnson Control, I'm sure that you're familiar with, and Lenovo, and a few other VCs. We're about 60 employees today in the company. About a quarter are PhDs, and most of the others are engineers. It's a deep tech technology. We have about 15 patents of families and about 25 patents already granted. We are a medical device company. We already submitted to the FDA and supposed to receive soon FDA clearance. So it's not a gadget, it's a real medical device. Our mission is to provide seamless and contact-free health monitoring solutions everywhere. So here you can see an example of the sensors that we apply to receive FDA approval. You can measure heart rate, you can measure respiration rate, you can measure heart rate variability, which give you comfort level and stress level, and also cardiac acoustic, same level of stethoscope. All done remotely. You just need to sit or stand in front of the sensor and your data is captured and be monitored. So I'm sure that you're familiar regarding COVID-19. that only 44% of the people that suffer from fever were being hospitalized. Most of the people that have been hospitalized, 66% of the people that were hospitalized didn't have fever. So fever is a good indicator, but not good enough. When you add additional layers like heart rate and respiration rate, you have much better tool to detect if you suffer from disease like COVID-19. And here you can see an example from the CDC Center of Disease. This is the data that we got from there. So our solutions. There are two solutions. One is in an employee kiosk, which means the employers, for example, the hotel's employers come every day. We monitor them day by day and see if there's a change in the health condition. And by day alert if there's something changed from their baseline. So this is one example. Another example is an access control tool solution, which means you're coming to the lobby of the hotel, you are being screened with our sensor, you just need to stand seamless and you'll be measured, or you are using a check-in kiosk, a kind of kiosk, you're standing in front of the kiosk, and while doing the check-in, you are being screened very easily without any intervention. I would like to thank you for inviting me, and here you can see my contact details below. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eran. Please, all the speakers, startup panelists, turn on your cameras and unmute yourself. I want to start with a question. Actually, it's for the industry practitioners. Fred and Shay, we can't see you yet. I think, Shay, you mentioned it, and obviously, budgets are very tight. What do you think for the industry practitioner? What do you think? How can a startup that has some type of a solution get any attention of a hotel company that has needs, but their budget is very, very limited now? So how do you even get this exposure? Is it just you need to say COVID-19 all the time in your presentation or something else? And also for the startups, you guys been dealing now with few different travel companies. I mean, maybe from your experience, have you seen anything, or is it still a challenge?
Well, we'll try to mix here between a chain company and independent. If I was a startup, it all depends how deep pockets you have. Chains it takes longer to take decisions. I'm not talking about our chain. Our chain has Israeli owners, so the decision can be taken fast. But in general, it's easier always to come with a case study. You need to catch an independent, even if it's a small hotel of 50 rooms or 40 rooms, you have to come with a working case study, not with an idea, because we don't have time now to, okay, let's try you and let's try you. You have to come just if you know a hotel anywhere and put it over there. It doesn't matter if it's for free or something, but you have to come with a working case study. Then it's much easier. That's point number one. And point number two, solutions that don't need too many integrations now will go faster, because if you just can do a plug and play, like what they put over there now, this thing with checking all the fever and everything of the client, which is quite interesting for me. And the third thing, okay, we need to be a flexible financial models. We and nobody else is going to invest now. I mean, we cannot. I mean, I'm signing now loans from the banks in order to pay salaries, because my employees are the most important thing now. So the startup, if they can, and if you are smart, then we need to find flexible financial models based on rooms, based on months, based on something. Because to buy now, maybe Accor can, because Accor is a big monster, but all the rest will keep it, for the bread, not for the ice cream. But you have to come with a case study, talk with independent hotels, have 1 or 2 case studies, and then it will run from there.
Fred or Ignacio, do you have anything else to add to it, or do you just?
I totally agree with what Shay has said. It's not the best time for us according to financials, and obviously we look really deep into the business case, which is really going to add value in a really short time, and obviously that's an important point. Totally agree.
Yep, I agree as well. I think today's situation is clearly pointing out what is the priority, what is the benefit, and how quick the return on investment can be achieved. So yeah, I think it's clearly those 3 key points that are today taking into consideration for any new solution to be deployed, and versus what's the benefit.
So let's look at those 3 solutions that we have here. So, and the reason we chose them is specifically because of the kind of thing you mentioned. For example, Jonathan, your solution, pools, especially now in the summer, and I know it's going to go away, guests, if and when they are willing to stay in a hotel, they want a pool in the hotel. If it's summer, okay, depending where you are. So if you're in Europe now, it's summer, and not so much maybe for city hotels, and even city hotels. You know, we see it in Israel, people want the pool. So tell us, Jonathan, a little bit, you mentioned how easy it is to deploy it. So tell us a little bit more about how do you deploy it? Who needs to do it? Can the hotel engineering team do it? What kind of maintenance it has? And also from a cost perspective, because you don't need to mention exactly the cost, but in general, explain how does it work in the cost, if you can give a high-level ballpark so people understand, is it something that costs $30,000 a pool, or, you know, $2,000 a pool?
Sure. So as you know, Ram, I mean, you already introduced quite a few hotels that we're discussing with, because as you said, the swimming pool is really very important for the customer experience. And so that's one of those points that you really want to make sure it's at a higher standard, and that's what guests are starting to expect. So just in general, the installation itself of our system, it's so quick, it could take between half an hour and an hour, depending on the swimming pool. And it can be done by pretty much any pool operator or maintenance person, which the vast majority of hotels have their own in-house, or else they'd have a external company that can for sure do it. As per the costs, obviously it ranges on the size, but in general, if you have, let's say, a 500 cube, which is a 500,000 liter swimming pool, which is a decent size we find in most hotels, that's around the cost of this, you're looking about $8,000. And as we said in the presentation, the maintenance is practically zero. It's pretty much a plug and play. And about every 18 months, you have a few components that you have to replace. Again, they can be done by any pool professional. Our systems, they're manufactured in Israel, but we send them all over the whole world. It's quite simple to install it. And we've seen in quite a few locations that once they have it and they notify their customers, the patrons, that they have these advanced oxidation systems that have been proven with laboratory results that it actually eliminates coronavirus, which is only one of the many things that it does. It eliminates a lot of their very important bacteria and pathogens and disinfection byproducts, which in general just increases the entire swimming pool experience. A lot more patrons are willing to come into the swimming pool, which is really, in many places, sort of like an anchor in the hotel. People go there expecting to use the swimming pool. So in general, this has actually been quite a boost for us when people actually realize that this is a very important point to take care of the highest standard possible in the health of the swimming pool.
Jonathan, this is also, this solution is also applicable to spas, jacuzzi,
yes,
wetland. I know that it can be even for fountain. Right. The people are afraid that splashes, you know, water from the, and even where you have, not like fish tanks, but like when you have places there is some type of fish or other animal where you cannot put chlorine in it, it works. So if you can just explain a little bit about this. And
sure.
Also, I wanted to say, you know, when we talked to you first, you guys had your solution working in pools, but you kind of deviated and you stopped really going after pools. can you tell us why and what are the challenges with the hotel industry or whichever industry we're going after?
Sure. So because our technology is actually quite efficient, swimming pools have a lot of other options out there, but our technology is extremely powerful. So we're both focusing on the very high bather load swimming pools. You're talking about extremely high bather loads, or ponds you mentioned. So we work with quite a few municipalities. They have ponds or water features. Now, besides for Legionella, which is always a problem, that's a pathogen that's always a problem in these ponds, they also can't use conventional sanitation, such as chlorine, because it will kill the flora, the fauna, or the fish in many applications. So our systems are used in many ponds because it creates this disinfection and oxidation, which actually promotes the health of the fish and the flora and reduces the bacteria and the algae, specifically algae in ponds. Because it's such a efficient and effective oxidizer, there are many different applications. We do have many swimming pools using it. But again, this right now, we're starting to realize that because of this corona, as soon as it started, we immediately started testing our technology on corona. Thankfully, our laboratory results came back phenomenal after a long process that it actually kills human coronavirus. So now we're pivoting more into swimming pools because we're seeing a tremendous demand in swimming pools as opposed to just ponds.
There is a question from the audience, actually Brian, hey Brian, Brian Singer from South Africa is asking if one installing the pool system, does one use less or more traditional chemicals?
Less. So in general, you will have our system. It will reduce the consumption of your chlorine, whatever sanitizer you're using, and it will also reduce your combined chlorine, which is all the byproducts of the chlorine. But in general, you will see somewhere between the 20% and 30% reduction in the chlorine use.
But you still need to, in most places in the world, chlorine is mandated by the regulator. So if it's a private pool, you can eliminate it altogether. Almost.
Certainly, yeah. So we have quite a few jacuzzis of private individuals and actually some private swimming pools that they don't use any conventional sanitizers. They only use our system. But when you're talking about a hotel or a resort, there's standards and regulation that require the use of chlorine or other residual sanitizers in the water. So you will still need to use them, but you won't have the toxic byproducts of those chlorine, and you'll also end up reducing the consumption of the chlorine. You'll have a much healthier standard in quality of your water.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Eran, I want to ask you, you are coming from healthcare. I think Shay mentioned it. We see everywhere those thermal cameras and everybody is measuring fever. And you mentioned in your presentation that only 44% of the people that actually have COVID-19 has fever. And I think even fever shows at a later stage. So you guys you can identify other things. So again, I think it's important to understand, we talked a lot about it and the cost. I think that your cost is very attractive for a superior product from just the thermal camera, depending on the application. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, how did you get to the hospitality industry? Because you were aiming at the elderly population. That's what the device was designed for. So tell us a little bit about this and how does it apply into the travel industry, if it's hotels in this panel or airlines and so.
So just a background, we started and we are still a medical device company. We designed sensors that tailored for contact-free or contactless. As far as I know, we are the only sensors that in the next few months will receive FDA approval. The contact-free sensor that measure vital signs without touching. You just need to sit or stand in front of a sensor and that's it. And you'll be measured. So as you mentioned, we started at let's call it elderly care or chronic ill people arena markets. And due to the COVID-19, a lot of companies approach us because they're looking for a solution that not required any touch. And we were tested and also made few POCs and few installation in hospitals, in Israel, and in office, in entrance of office in Israel and in Japan. because it's very seamless, it's very easy to use, and it's very accurate. As you mentioned, yes, fever, it's good, but not good enough. And the combination of other parameters like vitals, like heart rate, respiration rate, and on top of it, we have also analytics like respiration pattern and so on, which give, as you know, COVID-19 at the end is a respiration disease or lung disease. If you can detect it, then you can alert that, for example, your staff in the hotel is sick. So regarding your question, we were approached from few companies that are looking for solutions which are seamless. So we made a shift also to look on those markets. COVID-19 changed the world as we see it today.
So from a cost perspective, can you give us a ballpark of how much a device, obviously it depends on quantity, but a hotel basically, what I think is interesting for hotel is hotel can have just 2 or 3 of those at the lobby.
Yeah.
Or the back if you want to do it for employees. I mean, it's whatever you want. With airlines, it's more challenging because they need to have many of them in each gate, and they need to have at the kiosk, and they need to have at the check-in.
Exactly. So, it's take about 10 seconds to measure, so I think even 1 or 2 is good enough in a lobby. The ballpark is $1,000. More, of course, it depends on the quantities, but this is a ballpark of our sensor. And it also can combine temperature. So with temperature, heart rate, and respiration rate. Okay. And on top of it, we can run analytics. Yeah.
And last thing, I think Shay mentioned it as far as the ease of deployment. What does it require from the hotel to do from a technology perspective?
Actually, it's very easy to use. We have a tablet. You just need to click the tablet, wait for a few seconds, and that's it. This is one option. Now we develop another option that it will recognize when you are in front of the sensor, and it will measure you.
And do you look at an option to embed it into a self-check-in kiosk if hotel?
Exactly. Yeah. We're talking now with few companies to install it in airports, in a kiosk of airports kiosk. Yeah, check-in of a kiosk. Okay,
thank you, Roy. Your product. I want you to tell us a little bit. I mean, you are actually among the 3 startups here. You actually a native travel tech solution, and before the COVID-19 crisis, you were focusing more on engagement, communication with the guests. So tell us, what did you change in your product? And there are several solutions out there in the market. So if you want to say, what are your unique selling point of this product versus other? I mean, you showed some of it in the presentation, but I think that those are interesting to go over.
Yeah, so thank you for having me here. I'll start from the beginning. First of all, when COVID-19 started to roll out, it was in the beginning of February, we already seen that the hotels or customers are raising demands for a more contactless journey and so on. And quickly we decided to listen to our customers and develop it as fast as we can. That's how we got to this online check-in via the messaging apps. And what's differentiate us, I think it's 2 ways. So one of it is the taking care of the majority of the guests. And you do it by approaching them where they're used to, where they're actively on their daily life, WhatsApp, WeChat, iMessage. Each one has his own preference, so personalization for the guest. And the other one is taking care of this unknown guest and people that arrives with no rather info that the hotel has on them. So they get to the premises and they need to understand what's going on, and the hotel still need to provide them this contactless communication. So just with the QR code.
The guests that are guests of the hotel, probably made their booking through some third party that did not provide a phone number or an email. So you couldn't contact them prior to being at the lobby.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I meant by unknown guest. And we can provide the full picture, the full solution to the whole check-in area.
So what do you mean? How do you do it? So I'm coming, I get to the hotel, and then what would happen?
So basically, the beauty of the solution is that it's totally flexible to the needs of the hotel itself. It can adapt to its own needs. So we give the hotel fully control on the journey, on the guest journey, and they can decide if they want 1 touch point, 2 or 6. They have the full control, and they can say, okay, once the guest is doing the booking via booking.com, immediately he'll get a WhatsApp message in his native language with the health instruction, for example, or so on for his trip, asking him if he needs something. Then the second touch point will be 24 hours before the check-in. He'll get it again, message telling him to check in, and so on. That's the typical journey, let's say, if you have the full data of the guest and so on. And it goes up until checkout, complete all the payments, and do a completely contactless journey. We also integrate to the digital keys, so we can do it without any contact whatsoever. And if you don't have the digital key, as I mentioned in the pitch, we have this operational solution that helps the hotel still provide the same experience using the system. For the one that we don't have data, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I said for the guests with no data, in the PMS, no contact details, and that's a major problem because the hotel can't approach them in any way. And we can do it on premises. So the guest just arrived to the check-in, you can see this QR code, scan it for a sec, and immediately goes to his journey and complete the check-in and so on.
And what about team member? As far we see more and more countries requiring employees to fill out health declaration. Is this something you do through your app? I've seen other companies that provide this solution.
Yeah, so the flexibility allows the hotel to actually form by drag and drop his own check-in form. So if you're in a country that obligated the guest to digitally sign on a health declaration or any kind of document, you can do it easily via the check-in form. And the hotel can adapt this by property. So most of the chains have operation in many countries. So each one has different regulation, and that's why the system is totally flexible to their needs. I can just...
I was asking about employees of the hotel. Do you also provide a solution that employees can fill out a declaration? Every place you go, when I send my kids to a summer camp, school, every place you need to fill out all those declarations. Many of the hotel, I think was mentioned here, independent small hotels, they can't deal with paperwork and they want to have things that are touchless. Is this something you guys do, or it's not something?
So we're not in the team communication area. So that part we're not doing, with the exclusion that you can make it happen via the system, but it's not something that we're doing in practice right now or in the near future.
Perfect. Do you guys, Ignacio, Fred, and Shay, do you guys have any questions for them? Okay. I wanted to ask kind of a last question. All three of you, first of all, you are based in Israel. As you can tell by Jonathan's accent, he was not born here. But are there any, it's interesting because Eran, you said like it's a Spanish-Israeli company. Can you tell us a little bit about why are you in Israel and what are the advantages in Israel? Because obviously you are not targeting local market as much as internationally. If you want to make it in the big boys club, you need to sell internationally. So Eran, maybe we'll start with you, and then Jonathan and Roy can tell us, or maybe you are here just because you are Israeli and you live here, and that's it.
So yeah, it's a joint project of two universities, of Valencia University, Spain, of course, and Barlan University is here in Israel. We spin out from the two universities about 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. We are learning here Spanish, actually. We have one a week or twice a week even come teachers that learn us Spanish. And also in Spain, we have a group in Spain that learn Hebrew. I think that we are in Israel because a lot of innovation emerge in Israel. I think it's part of it maybe relate to the army, that you have a lot of that when you come very young and you get a lot of opportunities there and it grow you. And then when you take it to the next level, to the industry, maybe you think different than other nationalities and so on. We are very, very innovative in Israel. I think this is the main reason. Second, I think the universities are here in Israel are very good. So the graduates are very good at the end. There are a lot of innovation that emerge here in Israel. I think those are this is my idea about the innovation here in Israel.
Thank you. Jonathan, anything else to add?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to water technologies, Israel is really one of the worldwide hubs in water technologies. I mean, just on our team, we have a water engineer from the Technion, a professor for environmental engineering from Tel Aviv University. I mean, these are the top of their field, and they're all in this small little country of Israel. So I think in the water technologies, it's very appropriate to be in Israel. And secondly, if you can do business in Israel, you could probably do business in almost any country in the world. I mean, they're extremely aggressive. I mean, we just had a funny question the other day. A chain of swimming pools asked us if they can buy one of our machines and then put up plaques in all their swimming pools telling everybody that they have a new technology, Corona, with the laboratory results. So they'll buy one machine and put a sign up in all their swimming pools. I mean, that's not a question you get in any other country, I think.
That's called
so just to get
even in Israel, but we don't want to know the name of the company, but
this is innovation, no?
No, but they help. Well, the truth
fortunately,
is
that's not the only innovation that we see coming out of Israel, but we see a lot of it. That's not surprising.
Yeah, but I mean, once they put it up in one place, all of a sudden they had a lot more users come back to the swimming pool. So instead of spending money everywhere, they said, let's just put up a sign. So I think if you can do business in Israel, then you're pretty good to go.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Roy. Anything else to add?
Nope, I think they said it all. I think I do have one thing to add about the Israeli ecosystem. I think that because it's small, it's a big advantage because you can reach out many people. Like you said, the Technion professor or so on, and so it's very approachable. So that's something that I enjoy and use it every day.
And one other thing again with the startup, as I mentioned before, I mean, startup, they do provide, they come with a risk element, obviously, because they're small, but they do come, especially in times like now, with a lot of agility. So the ability to change the product, that if you go, like Shay mentioned, SAP or Oracle, they're not going to make those changes for you, even if you are core. They're not going to make it for you because they just have so many bigger customers in other vertical that it's not worth it for them. And it's come with a much lower price tag. So with this note, I want to finish with a quick game, okay? Let's do it for all of you. I'm going to say one word, and you're going to respond to me with one word as well, okay? So for example, and we're going to do it at this order, okay? In my screen, Eran, you need to unmute yourself. Roy, unmute yourself. Okay, Jonathan, unmute yourself. Everybody unmute yourself. Ignacio, Shay. So I'm gonna say something, and I'm saying first word, for example, traveling. So Eran, today, in this time of age, what comes to you in mind? One word.
Not traveling.
Ignacio.
Smart traveling.
Shay.
Flights.
What is it?
Flights.
Flights. Jonathan.
Safety.
Roy.
Disrupt.
And Fred.
New experiences.
Flying. Eran.
Fun.
Fun. Ignacio.
You said flying?
Flying, yes. Yeah, this thing, you know, this airplane, they still
Yeah.
have, most of them are on the ground.
I'll catch the disrupted.
Shy.
Barcelona. Come to Barcelona.
Jonathan.
I wish.
Roy.
Inspiration.
Okay. This is an easy one. Hotels or Airbnb? Eran. This is good. Remember, it's a hotel panel.
Skip me. I will return next week.
Ignacio.
Hotels, but there's time for both, obviously, and apartments.
Shy.
Hotels.
Fred.
Hotels, obviously.
Jonathan.
Hotels. It's the right panel.
Airbnb has pools as well, you know, somehow. Right? No need for chlorine and area regulation. Roy?
Hotels for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Front desk. Ignacio.
Efficiency.
Shy.
Empty.
Fred.
Revolution coming?
Jonathan, anything?
Speed. Efficiency.
Roy?
Automation.
Eran?
Seamless.
Seamless? Okay. Sustainability. Ignacio.
You should start with Fred.
Fred. Okay, Fred.
Caring.
Eran. Okay,
No
Roy.
Give me a second.
Let's say important.
Shy.
Solar panels.
Okay, last but not least, I want a guesstimation from you. A year, I'm not asking for a month, a year and a quarter where you think things gonna go back to normal within the hotel industry. I mean, I'm not talking about recovery from the financial crisis, but more from the health crisis. Do we need to wait for a vaccine, or is it something people are going to get used to and they're going to start traveling anyway? Because how long can you do it without? I'll start with Shy, okay, Ignacio. Not going to dump.
That's a good question. It's changing. I think in here, next spring, that should be okay. It already started to get better and then it went back. In Germany, the situation is getting better by the day, actually. So maximum next spring, as long as we don't have all this reboot.
Spring 2021, yes. Fred?
I would tend to agree as well, Q2 2021. Very difficult, but yeah, would make sense.
Ignacio?
It makes sense, but I think the vaccine will be a really strong asset here, so it will change everything, probably, if it happens to be someday.
Eran, actually, what is your opinion coming from healthcare?
Healthcare is booming right now.
Yeah, he wanted spring 2035.
But I tend to agree that spring next year.
Very good.
Will get better.
Okay, with this, I'd like to thank all of you for participating. I hope that it was beneficial for all of you and obviously our audience. I'm sorry, let me just see. There is one quick question. May Jonathan and Eran say the brand names they represent once again? Thanks.
Okay, so I start. The name of the company is Continuse Biometrics. And if you look at their website, it's cu-bx.com.
And actually, if you look at the link, even first of all, in everything we send, it shows it. And if you look at the link for the Zoom, you can also see the company. And we're going to send a newsletter with this recording, and we're going to upload those startup with the videos to the to our website. Novellen can always ask us. And Jonathan, please.
Pool Purity. Pool Purity is for focus on the swimming pools.
Very good. So again, thank you very much. Our next panel will be actually in August 12th. It will be interesting for all this audience. We're going to actually deal with destination, tourism destination. We have the former tourist minister for Brazil, and he's the current Secretary of Tourism for the state of São Paulo, as well as the CEO of Visit DC, Washington, DC. And we're going to talk in general how those destinations dealing with the pandemic and how can they help their local businesses. So again, yes?
Can I just ask one question of just panels? I was just thinking when they're asking right now from the panelists, is your main priority right now reducing costs or increasing the experience and let's say the standard of the hotel to attract more people? What is the main priority from hotel's perspective now?
Well, let's say that let's open the hotels first, yeah, and then we do all the rest. And when you have more than half of the hotels are closed, so.
I think, Jonathan, the way you phrase the question is not accurate, because if you talk about the experience, I don't think it's a high priority. If you talk about incremental revenue, I think it is more important. So and nobody would tell you, no, we don't care about experience. Obviously, we care about experience, but the situation is so dire that expenses are a problem. If you can show them, for example, in your case specifically, as I mentioned on pools, that people in the summer, they book hotel. I know I own it through VRBO, Airbnb style, and in a condo hotel, and people ask, the first thing they ask, is the pool open? You know, that's almost the most recurring question I get. So if you show, I think that you can increase revenue when they are open, I think there you get to higher chances of open some type of discussion. I mean, do you guys agree, Fred?
Yes.
I think yes. You need to bear into account that, like Shay said, we've got all the hotels closed. So our main objective is to open them. Obviously, experience is a really important part because people are not coming if they don't have a real experience. But I think it's parallel. Okay, the basic now is to not to die in this pandemic and keep on working and last till 2021 or when the vaccine comes. Obviously, experiences are a really big point on, for example, in roommate is huge. But obviously, we have to look at both sides. Efficiency is also something which we have to take into account.
Yeah. I think it goes back to the original question that I asked, when did you realize how severe the crisis? And I think now, if you look geographically, you see based on the pandemic and where it hits and where second wave and what happened to the operator. You know, in Asia, they're ahead of Europe with anything to do with the pandemic, and Europe is ahead of the US, and US is probably a little bit ahead to South America with anything to do. So I think that right now it's better to focus on Asia. and start talking to the European operator because they are starting to recover. But in the US, I think it will be still very difficult, and in South America as well. But it changes. Fred, anything else? Did you wanted to add something?
No, not much. I think everything has been said. Obviously, as I said, customers are waiting for new experiences, but obviously that needs to come as well with a potential of revenue secured or revenue increased. So yeah, everything has been said.
Customers are waiting for new experiences, but the industry is waiting for some revenue.
Yep, exactly.
So very good. So at this note, again, thank you very much, and stay in touch and stay safe.
Thank you
very
so much for the
Thank
invitation.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.